Grand Admiral Vishlak of the Taylorian Empire stared in disbelief at the holographic projection dominating the command center. The massive vessel that had materialized without warning at the edge of the Centauri sector shouldn't exist. Quantum. Sensors indicated it had simply appeared, bypassing every warning system and defensive grid the Empire had established over centuries. "Impossible," he whispered, antennae flattening against his skull. "No species possesses technology capable of breaching our detection network." His second-in-command, Commander Nileth, approached with uncharacteristic hesitation. "The vessel bears markings consistent with the human confederation." The room fell silent. Humans were a curiosity, a relatively young spacefaring species from a backwater system. They maintained peaceful, if limited, relations with the Empire. The Taylorians had classified them as a minor power, interesting primarily for their unusual biology and adaptability, but hardly a threat. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving transmissions across all channels. The signal pattern matches nothing in our databases, but it's emanating from the human vessel." "Decode it," Vishlak ordered. "That's just it, sir. It's being broadcast in clear Taylorian standard. They're requesting to speak directly with Emperor Davrak." The audacity was unprecedented. No foreign entity had ever demanded direct communication with the Emperor. Protocol dictated diplomatic channels through appointed intermediaries. "Patch it through," Vishlak commanded, straightening his ceremonial armor. The holographic display flickered, revealing a human female with dark skin and startling eyes the color of Taylorian emeralds. She wore a simple black uniform bearing an unfamiliar insignia. "This is Admiral Kylara Blackwell of the Terran vessel Prometheus. I come with urgent intelligence that threatens the survival of both our civilizations." Vishlak's mandibles clicked in agitation. "How did you breach our defensive perimeter?" "Our sensors detected no approach." The human's expression remained impassive. "The technology that brought us here is precisely what I need to discuss. Your empire is about to face an extinction-level threat. The Voidborn have awakened." The command center erupted in chaos. The Voidborn were merely legends, ancient destroyers from the darkest corners of uncharted space. Bedtime stories to frighten Taylorian hatchlings. "Preposterous," Vishlak snarled. "The Voidborn are myths." "They are very real," Admiral Blackwell responded, "and they've already devoured 3 systems at your outer territories. Your colonial outposts at Sigma Draconis, Epsilon Eridani, and Beta Hydri have gone silent within the last 72 hours. Your communication relays haven't detected this yet due to light speed limitations." Vishlak felt his blood run cold. Those were classified military outposts. No alien species should have knowledge of their existence, let alone their status. "We've been tracking Voidborn movements for the past decade," Blackwell continued. "Humanity has developed technology specifically to combat them. The Prometheus represents our latest breakthrough, quantum displacement technology. It allows us to travel instantaneously between any 2 points in space." The implications were staggering. If true, humans had secretly achieved what Taylorian scientists had deemed theoretically impossible. "Admiral Blackwell," Vishlak said carefully, "if what you say is true, then our empire faces an unprecedented threat. But I must ask, why reveal such technology to us now? Your species could have used this advantage for conquest." Blackwell's expression hardened. "Because against the Voidborn, fighting separately means dying together." The Imperial Palace of Taylor Prime hummed with frantic activity. Emperor Davrak, resplendent in ceremonial battle carapace, not worn since his ascension ceremony, studied the human delegation with wary fascination. The throne room's ancient stone walls, carved from the sacred mountains millennia ago, had never hosted an unscheduled alien presence. Our scientists insist what you describe is impossible, Emperor Davrak stated flatly, compound eyes reflecting the room's azure lighting. Quantum displacement violates fundamental laws of physics. Admiral Blackwell stood unflinching before the 15-foot Emperor. Behind her, Lieutenant Commander Riker Thorne maintained a stoic presence, while Science Officer Ilara Vasquez operated a holographic interface projected from her wrist device. "With respect, Your Eminence," Blackwell replied. "Humanity's understanding of quantum mechanics diverged from galactic consensus centuries ago. We pursued theoretical avenues others abandoned." Vasquez activated their presentation, and the throne room darkened as three-dimensional star charts materialized. Red markers pulsed where once thriving outposts had existed. "The Voidborn consume everything," Vasquez explained, her voice steady despite the horrific images now displayed. "They don't just destroy, they assimilate. Biological matter, technology, even the fabric of space-time itself becomes corrupted." The images showed planetary systems being enveloped by what appeared to be living darkness, an impossible phenomenon that defied natural law. High Chancellor Morzik, the Emperor's chief advisor, chittered nervously. "If such entities exist, how? Have they evaded Imperial detection for millennia?" "They hibernate," Thorne answered, speaking for the first time. "Cycles lasting thousands of years. Your civilization's recorded history spans only 3 of their dormant periods." "And what triggered their awakening?" Emperor Davrak demanded. The humans exchanged glances before Blackwell answered. "We believe it was us, humanity. Our experimental, faster-than-light drives created ripples in subspace that disturbed their slumber." A murmur rippled through the assembled Tellurian officials. The implications were clear. Humans had unintentionally unleashed an ancient horror upon the galaxy. "So, you admit responsibility?" Grand Admiral Vishlak accused, mandibles flaring aggressively. "We accept our role," Blackwell acknowledged without hesitation, "which is why we've dedicated our resources to developing countermeasures. The Prometheus isn't just a warship, it's a prototype. The first vessel capable of delivering our weapon against the Voidborn." Emperor Davrak leaned forward on his massive throne. "What weapon could possibly combat entities that consume space-time itself?" "Quantum resonance disruption," Vasquez explained, displaying schematics. "The Voidborn maintain cohesion through quantum entanglement across dimensional boundaries. Our technology can sever those connections, forcing them back into their native dimension." "And why come to us?" Davrak asked. "The Tellurian Empire has historically viewed humanity as primitive." Blackwell's expression remained diplomatic, though. Thorne visibly tensed. "2 reasons," she answered. "First, the Voidborn are targeting your territory before heading toward Earth. Second, while we have the technology to defeat them, we lack the industrial capacity to build enough vessels in time. The Prometheus is our only operational ship with QDT capabilities." "You need our shipyards," Vishlak realized. "We need partnership," Blackwell corrected. "Tellurian manufacturing capabilities combined with human quantum technology. Otherwise, both our civilizations perish." Emperor Davrak rose from his throne, towering over the human delegation. His decision would determine the fate of the most powerful empire in known space. "Grand Admiral, prepare our fleets," he commanded. "High Chancellor, summon the Imperial Science Directorate." He turned his massive head toward the humans. "Admiral Blackwell, your Prometheus will provide our scientists with complete access to this quantum displacement technology." "With all due respect, Emperor," Blackwell countered, "our technology remains under human control. We offer alliance, not submission." The Imperial chamber fell silent at such boldness. For a moment, it seemed the Emperor might order their immediate execution. Instead, Davrek made a sound no human had ever heard before, a Tellurian laugh. Perhaps we have underestimated your species after all. The orbital shipyards of Taylor Prime, architectural marvels stretching thousands of kilometers across the upper atmosphere, had never known such frenetic activity. Tellurian engineers worked alongside human specialists, integrating technologies that mere weeks ago would have been deemed incompatible. Remarkable, muttered Chief Engineer Drelzak, his 6 appendages manipulating holographic schematics as human engineer Orion Frost made adjustments. Your quantum field generators shouldn't function within our power distribution systems, yet the modifications you've implemented bypass constraints we've accepted as immutable for generations. Frost smiled thinly, eyes never leaving their work. Sometimes the greatest innovations come from those who don't know what's supposed to be impossible. Aboard the Prometheus, now docked at the heart of the shipyard complex, Admiral Blackwell reviewed tactical projections with Grand Admiral Vishlak. The command center buzzed with a mix of human and Tellurian officers, initial suspicion gradually giving way to professional respect. The Voidborn will reach the Proxima Centauri colony within 48 hours, Blackwell noted, pointing to simulation data. If projections hold, they'll consume the entire system before proceeding to the Arcturus military installation. Vishlak's antennae twitched with concern. Even with accelerated production schedules, we'll have only 3 vessels. Retrofitted with your quantum technology by then, 3 will have to be enough for the first engagement, Blackwell responded. The Prometheus will lead, with your battlecruiser's sovereign might and imperial judgment following our displacement wake, a formation never before attempted. Vishlak observed, my captains expressed concern about navigational stability when following your displacement vectors. Your captains will need to trust the process, Lieutenant Commander Thorne interjected, not looking up from his tactical station. Displacement isn't like conventional FTL travel. There's no gradient adjustment, no gradual acceleration. You're simply elsewhere. The navigational computers we've installed will handle the transition. The conversation was interrupted as Science Officer Vasquez entered with Tellurian Chief Scientist Zolrax. We've identified the problem, Vasquez announced. The quantum stability matrix couldn't account for Tellurian crystal circuitry. We've recalibrated the harmonic synchronization to accommodate the difference. Will it work? Blackwell demanded. Zolrax's multifaceted eyes shifted colors, a Tellurian expression of cautious optimism. Simulations indicate 82% probability of successful integration. Under normal circumstances, we would conduct months of testing, but we don't have months, Blackwell finished. The Voidborn don't grant that luxury. An alarm suddenly blared throughout the command center. Lieutenant Morax, a junior Tellurian communications officer, frantically manipulated controls. Emergency transmission from Proxima Centauri, he reported, voice tight with stress. Visual feed incoming. The main display activated, showing a Tellurian commander whose exoskeleton bore the distinctive markings of the 7th Colonial Fleet. This is Commander Krelvex of Outpost PC-479. The transmission began, distortion warping the audio. We are under attack by entities matching no known classification. Their static interrupted as the visual feed showed darkness flowing like liquid across the outpost's defenses, consuming everything. Conventional weapons ineffective. Requesting immediate, the feed cut to black. They've arrived ahead of schedule, Vishlak whispered. Blackwell's expression hardened. How soon can the retrofit be completed on the first 3 ships? Zolrax and Vasquez exchanged glances. 8 hours at minimum, Vasquez answered. The quantum matrix integration can't be rushed beyond certain parameters without risking catastrophic failure. The colony will be gone by then. Thorne noted grimly. Blackwell straightened. Decision made. Prometheus goes alone. We'll engage the Voidborn and collect combat data while the retrofits continue. That's suicide, Vishlak objected. Our simulations indicate a single vessel cannot survive direct engagement. Simulations are based on incomplete data, Blackwell countered. We need real-world observations of how our weapons perform. Then I will accompany you, Vishlak declared, surprising everyone. As Grand Admiral of the Tellurian fleet, tactical data gathered firsthand will prove invaluable for subsequent engagements. The command center fell silent as human and Tellurian leaders regarded each other, the beginning of respect that transcended species. Prepare for departure in 30 minutes, Blackwell ordered. We're about to see what the Voidborn are truly capable of. The Prometheus materialized at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, the perfect silence of quantum displacement giving way to immediate battle stations alert. The view screen revealed a nightmarish tableau, the colonial world, partially enveloped in writhing darkness that defied natural physics. By the Emperor's light, Vishlak whispered, witnessing firsthand what the surveillance feeds had only partially captured. They're consuming the planetary mass itself. Science Officer Vasquez's fingers flew across her console. Sensors detect matter conversion on an unprecedented scale. The Voidborn aren't simply destroying, they're transforming matter into something else. Life signs? Blackwell demanded. Scattered. Approximately 3,000 colonists still alive in the southern hemisphere. The Voidborn appear to be working methodically from the North Pole downward. Commander Thorne analyzed tactical readings. The darkness isn't uniform. I'm detecting concentrated nodules, possibly control points or vital structures. Target those. And concentrations, Blackwell ordered. Prepare quantum disruption arrays, full power. The Prometheus glided closer, its advanced stealth systems temporarily masking their approach. Vishlak watched in professional admiration. The human vessel moved, with precision that matched the finest Tellurian warships despite being significantly smaller. Admiral, Vasquez called urgently, I'm detecting quantum fluctuations unlike anything in our database. The Voidborn are aware of us. As if in response to her words, tendrils of darkness detached from the planetary surface, flowing through, a vacuum in defiance of known physics. They moved with terrible purpose toward the approaching vessel. Evasive maneuvers, Blackwell commanded calmly. Bring primary weapons to bear on the largest concentration. The Prometheus banked sharply, narrowly avoiding the first tendril's grasp. Its main emitter glowed with building energy, quantum particles accelerating beyond conventional limitations. Firing solution acquired, Thorne announced. Fire, a beam of impossible light, somehow both blindingly bright and absorptively dark, lanced from the Prometheus toward the planetary surface. Where it struck, the darkness recoiled, edges fragmenting into sparkling quantum particles. Direct hit, Thorne reported. Disruption effect confirmed. The Voidborn are redirecting, Vasquez warned, all tendrils converging on our position. Blackwell turned to Vishlak. You're witnessing history, Admiral. The first successful attack against entities previously thought invulnerable. Vishlak nodded solemnly. Yet they adapt quickly. The tendrils move with more purpose now. The Prometheus shuddered as a tendril grazed their shielding. Warning indicators flashed across multiple stations. Shield integrity at 87%, Thorne reported. Even proximity contact is dangerous. Initiate quantum jump, Blackwell ordered. Reposition to coordinates Alpha 7. The Prometheus vanished, reappearing instantly on the opposite side of the planet. The maneuver caught the Voidborn mid-pursuit, their tendrils momentarily flailing in the empty space. This is our advantage, Blackwell explained to Vishlak. They can't predict quantum displacement. We can strike and relocate faster than they can respond. A brilliant tactic, Vishlak acknowledged. But the weapon's effect appears temporary. The damaged areas are already regenerating. Then we hit them harder, Blackwell decided. Recalibrate disruptors to sequential frequency modulation. If they adapt to one quantum signature, we'll cycle to the next. The battle intensified as the Prometheus executed a series of precise attacks, followed by instant relocations. Each strike temporarily disrupted the Void-born presence, but the entity recovered with increasing speed. They're learning, Vasquez observed with scientific detachment that belied the horror. Each recovery is 8.7% faster than the previous. A violent impact rocked the ship. Alert klaxons blared as damage reports flooded in. Direct hit, Thorne reported grimly. They anticipated our displacement vector. Shield integrity at 43%. Impossible, Blackwell muttered. They couldn't have calculated our jump point. Unless, Vishlak theorized, they've assimilated enough knowledge from the colony's quantum physics database to understand the principles. The colony's research. Station, Vasquez confirmed after checking records. They were conducting preliminary quantum field studies based on theoretical models. We need to evacuate the surviving colonists, Blackwell decided. Reconfigure the cargo bay for emergency transport. We'll execute a series of micro-jumps, retrieving as many as possible before withdrawing. Admiral, Thorne objected, our shields can't withstand prolonged exposure while stationary for evacuation protocols. Then we'll have to be quick, she replied. Lives are at stake. Vishlak studied the human commander with newfound respect. Despite tactical disadvantage, their first priority remained saving his people. Grand Admiral, Blackwell addressed him formally, if we fail to return, ensure the retrofit fleet targets these coordinates with everything they have. You have my word, Vishlak pledged, mandibles clicking in the Tellurian equivalent of a solemn vow. The Imperial throne room fell completely silent as Admiral Kylara Blackwell finished her report. The holographic display showed the battle footage from Proxima Centauri, the desperate evacuation that had saved 2,148 Tellurian colonists, the near destruction of the Prometheus as void-born tendrils had penetrated their shields, and their final, desperate quantum jump that had barely brought them back to Tellurian space. 3 of my officers gave their lives ensuring those evacuation transports reached our cargo bay, Blackwell concluded, voice steady despite the emotion evident in her eyes. Their sacrifice allowed us to gather critical data on void-born vulnerabilities. Emperor Davrak rose from his throne, the ceremonial armor now replaced with practical battle carapace. The Empire honors their sacrifice. Your crew will receive the Order of the Eternal Flame, never before granted to non-Tellurians. The assembled military leadership murmured in surprise at this unprecedented honor. Science Officer Vasquez stepped forward, still bearing the burns from when her console had exploded during their escape. The data confirms our theories. The quantum disruption technology works, but requires significantly more power than our initial estimates. The Voidborn can be destroyed, but not by a single ship. Chief Engineer Drelzak interjected, the retrofits to the first 12 vessels are complete. Based on combat data, we've enhanced the disruption arrays by 42% efficiency. How long before the Voidborn reach core Imperial territory? Emperor Davrak asked. 4 days, Your Eminence, Grand Admiral Vishlak answered. They've accelerated. After assimilating the quantum research from the colony, they appear to be learning. Lieutenant Commander Thorne, arm in a sling from injuries sustained during battle, manipulated the tactical display. We've identified what appears to be a central consciousness within the Voidborn collective. During our final attack run, sensors detected a unique quantum signature at these coordinates. The display highlighted a pulsating node deep within the darkness that had once been Proxima Centauri. A heart, Emperor Davrak observed. More like a brain, Vasquez corrected. If we can target this structure with concentrated disruption fire, we may destroy the entire entity rather than fighting spreading tendrils. A coordinated attack, Blackwell elaborated. Multiple vessels executing perfectly synchronized quantum jumps to surround the central node, simultaneous disruption fire from all vectors. Impossible, High Chancellor Morzik objected. Quantum jumps cannot be synchronized with such precision. They can, Orion Frost countered, joining the conversation. We've developed a quantum entanglement synchronization protocol. The fleet will move as one organism, just as the Voidborn do. Emperor Davrak turned to Blackwell. You propose we adopt the very nature of our enemy to defeat it. Sometimes, she replied, you must understand the darkness to bring the light. A Taylorian communication officer burst into the throne room, breaking all protocol. Your Eminence! Emergency transmissions from the Arcturus installation. The Voidborn have arrived ahead of projections. The display shifted to show the massive military installation, home to over 20,000 Taylorian personnel, already partially enveloped in writhing darkness. We're out of time, Vishlak stated gravely. Blackwell stepped forward. The retrofit fleet isn't fully prepared, but we have no choice. We attack now. With 12 ships against an entity that nearly destroyed your advanced vessel? Morzik questioned. 11 ships, Blackwell corrected. The Prometheus remains at 63% combat capacity. Our chief engineer assures me that's sufficient for one more battle. Emperor Davrak studied the human admiral. This representative of a species his empire had dismissed as inconsequential just days ago. He made his decision. I will personally command the Imperial flagship, the Emperor declared, shocking the assembly. No reigning emperor had led forces into battle for 7 generations. Your Eminence, Morzik protested. The risk is necessary, Davrak interrupted. If we fail, there will be no empire to rule. Grand Admiral Vishlak will coordinate our fleet with Admiral Blackwell's Prometheus. The Emperor turned to the assembled leaders of both species. Let history remember this day, when Taylorian and humans stood as one against the darkness. Hours later, 12 ships, 11 Taylorian warships, and the battle-scarred Prometheus executed a perfectly synchronized quantum jump into the heart of the Arcturus system, the Voidborn now consuming. Their second Imperial world sensed the arrival and sent tendrils arcing through space toward the newcomers. But this time, instead of a single vessel, they faced a coordinated attack unlike anything in the galaxy's history. All vessels report ready, Vishlak announced from his position on the Prometheus bridge. Emperor Davrak signals the attack may commence, Lieutenant Morax added. Admiral Blackwell stood tall, knowing that the next minutes would determine the fate of 2 civilizations. On my mark, she commanded. 3, 2, 1, fire. 12 quantum disruption beams, technologies born of human ingenuity powered by Taylorian industrial might, converged on the central node. Where they intersected, reality itself seemed to fracture. The Voidborn entity emitted a soundless scream that nonetheless registered on every sensor as quantum fields collapsed. The darkness began to fold inward, consuming itself rather than the world beneath. It's working, Vasquez reported, voice tight with restrained hope. The quantum matrix is destabilizing. The Voidborn tendrils flailed wildly, some striking ships with desperate force. 2 Taylorian vessels exploded in brilliant flashes, their crews making the ultimate sacrifice. Maintain disruption fields, Blackwell ordered, as the Prometheus shuddered under impact. We can't relent now. The remaining ships tightened their formation, compensating for their fallen allies. The convergence point of their weapons glowed with impossible energy as the Voidborn collapsed further. With a final reality-bending implosion, the entity vanished, leaving behind only scattered particles that dissipated into harmless radiation. Silence filled the Prometheus bridge before erupting into cheers. Tellurian and human crew embraced without regard for physiological differences or centuries of diplomatic distance. Confirmation from all senses, Vasquez reported through tears of relief. The Voidborn entity has been completely neutralized, quantum field readings returning to normal parameters. On the main view screen, Emperor Davrak's massive figure appeared. For the first time in recorded history, a Tellurian emperor bowed to a human. "Admiral Blackwell," he intoned formally, "the Tellurian Empire acknowledges its debt. From this day forward, humanity stands not as a minor power, but as our most honored ally." Blackwell returned the bow. "Together we've proven that the greatest strength can emerge from the most unexpected places." As the fleet regrouped to search for survivors, Vishlak approached Blackwell privately. "Your arrival in our space caused panic," he admitted. "We feared invasion, subjugation. Instead, you brought salvation." "That's the thing about humans," Blackwell replied with a small smile. "We're always where we're needed most, especially when no one expects us." In the darkness of space, the combined fleet shone like a beacon. 12 ships that had changed the course of galactic history, proving that even ancient empires could learn new lessons from the most unexpected teachers. The stars themselves seemed to burn brighter as the alliance that would reshape the galaxy took its first steps into a future where the words human and Tellurian would forever be spoken with equal respect.